Hey you guys, for today's lesson, we are going to be modeling chemical reactions using Lego. So you're going to need your Lego kit handy. And the reaction that we're modeling is the little experiment we did last week with the sun paper. So for those of you that either weren't here, or just a reminder for those of you that were, what we did is we took this piece of blue paper and then we kind of cut out different stencils and shapes and stuff, and we took it out and put it in the sunshine and came back into class and washed it. And when we were done, we ended up with these cool designs like what you see over here on our paper. So what we're going to do today is look at the chemical reaction that was happening and why that chemical reaction happened. Okay. So to model that, first I want to talk about the chemicals that were part of our reaction. And the first two I'm going to talk about are kind of our ingredients for this reaction, what we call the reactants. Remember, that means the ingredients to a reaction. Okay. The first one is called potassium ferrocyanide. And potassium ferrocyanide, you'll notice, has this big, long chemical formula, and it's kind of complicated. Like, we haven't even necessarily learned what like these different brackets and things mean. Okay, so to model that with Legos would be pretty complicated. So we're going to simplify that. Okay, so I'm going to cross that out. And instead, you'll notice it has potassium in the name, and potassium is the letter K. So I'm going to simplify it to K for potassium. And then it also has this word ferra, like ferrocyanide. Ferra means iron. So you'll notice that the element for iron is Fe, is the name. That's because iron is also called like ferrite, or we say it's like ferrous. It just means there's iron in it, okay? So we're going to simplify this to, actually I'm going to reverse that. FeK. So we're going to take that whole big long formula and we're just going to simplify it to two of the atoms that are in there, iron and potassium. And to represent this, I'm going to use blue for iron, and you'll see why later. And I'm going to use yellow for potassium because bananas have a lot of potassium and they're yellow, so I thought that would be a good match. So that's our first ingredient. Our second reactant, which is like our ingredient, is called ammonium ferric citrate. Okay? And you'll notice it also has one of these big, long chemical formulas. You'll notice it also has the word ferric in it, and it has iron in it. And then it has ammonia in it, which is kind of this mixture of nitrogen and hydrogen. We're going to simplify this, and we're going to simplify it down to hydrogen and iron. Okay, so I'm going to say Fe for iron, and then an H for hydrogen. And I'm going to use red for hydrogen and blue again for iron. Okay. And then the last molecule you're going to need to know for today is its science name is ferric ferrocyanide, but it's most commonly known as Prussian blue. And Prussian blue is kind of actually a famous molecule because it's used, has been used for a long time in like dyes to dye fabrics, and also like in art for like there's some pretty famous Japanese paintings that are done in this dye or in this paint. Okay, and you'll notice it also has a big long formula, but it has a lot of iron. You'll notice like Fe4, Fe. Anyway, so it's got a lot of iron in it. So to represent that, we're going to simplify it, and I'm just going to do Fe, which is iron, Fe2, which means it's going to be two of these blue Legos. Okay, so those are the three molecules we're going to be looking at today. And what I want you to do to get started is make a guide on your whiteboard, and it's going to look like this. So up at the top, I've made a color code of my Legos, and we have three different atoms we're using today: potassium, hydrogen, and iron. So I want you to make a little guide with those colors on top so that as we're working today, you remember what those are. And then we have three different molecules. Remember, a molecule means like a combination of more than one atom. So we've got the iron potassium, FeK, we've got the iron and hydrogen combined, FeH, and we've got those two iron atoms combined into Fe2. And I want you to label those as molecules. And then once you have that on your board, I want you to go ahead and take a picture of this and answer those questions in the first section of the assignment. And I'll just put that up again for you to see so you can make yours. Awesome.